I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said, we certainly take seriously the threat that can be posed by unmanned aircraft systems, which is why law enforcement and other agencies continue to support New Jersey and investigate the reports, even though they have uncovered no malicious activity or intent at this particular stage.
The U.S. Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now.
House Speaker Johnson and Senate staff as well are getting briefed today about those mysterious SUV-sized drones spotted in the skies over New Jersey. More drones were reportedly spotted over warships off the West Coast, over nuclear sites across the West, even over the CIA in Langley, Virginia. An official with the White House National Security Council saying there's no evidence the drones are a national security threat.
They've been incredibly stupid and incredibly weak with this. Here's the point. We know they're not backyard drones that some hobbyist is using because they're much more sophisticated than that. We know that they're not a commercial company within the United States because we don't even have this level of sophistication yet. We are a full decade behind where China is with drones. The government claims it's not them. They say it's not them. So who is it? Well, I have credible individuals who have high security ratings, and they came to me. And again, these are dependable, credible individuals that have security clearance that felt that they wanted to clear the air. They were in essence whistleblowers and said, look, they believe there's a real possibility it could be Iran, that there could be a ship out, not right on the coast of New Jersey, not right there, but these drones, as cited by the Coast Guard, are coming in and out of the ocean. They're going to the ocean. They're not pontoons. They're not landing on the water. They're landing on something. We're not being told the truth. They are dealing with the American public like we're stupid. And again, understand these drones are sophisticated systems, ones that we don't have, that we don't normally see, and we need some real substantive answers. This has been going on for almost 1 month.
You know, sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone up here. Like month after month, people come before us, they testify, and you don't get a lot of answers. And it's concerning, it's frustrating. You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Patterson Tower, Metro ID, 1900 feet, about 7 miles southwest of the field, like transit here, Delta North eastbound. Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation. Suggest at or above 1700 AGL. That we will maintain 2000 and on our transition for Med Flight 8. And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see. Roger that, no problem. Position approved, sir. Approved, Med Flight 8. Med Flight 8 Tower. That's for Med Flight 8. Hey, sir, you're still approved through our Class Delta. After you leave, Columbus is going to sterilize the Class Delta as of 0330 Zulu. Patterson Class Delta is closed after your transition. I'm sorry about that. You got stepped on by other traffic. Say again. Yes, sir. Your transition is still approved. However, Patterson Class Delta is sterilized as of 0330 Zulu for heavy unknown UAS activity. Security forces is handling it, and Columbus is going to sterilize the airspace after you leave the Delta. Roger, no problem. Thank you. All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson Class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because it was the enemy that blasted out. Even if they were late, they blasted. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. I know they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been? Do you have any reason to think they're?
I'm going to give you a report on drones about one day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones. And it's not only with me. Glenn was telling me today that in Virginia they have drones all over the place doing, nobody's reporting it. I don't know why they're not. Do you want to say something about that?
Just one quick comment, which is we are home to the largest naval base in the world in Quantico, and we house a lot of the SEAL teams and have a huge national security infrastructure. And now for 2 years running, we have had drone incursion over secure airspace, and we still don't know why. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And I think President Trump and the new leadership coming in, I think will work diligently to understand who's behind this and what we do in order to stop the digital surveillance of all of our security infrastructure.
Is it dangerous?
Well, I can tell you this. While we were dealing with a terrorist attack in New Orleans, we had drones being thrown over our nuclear reactors in Louisiana. We brought that attention to the FAA. We've been asking the FAA to give these states the ability to mitigate these drones. And it's sitting on some bureaucrat's desk. And that's real. Nobody knows. They don't want to talk about it. Go ahead, Governor.
I'm just going to say we had drones in Wyoming flying over our infrastructure as well. And it's incredibly frustrating that we not only have no way of knowing what it is, but nobody knows how to deal with them.
They don't want to talk about it, and nobody knows why. They don't want to talk about it.
However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations that we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step. We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate to any conceivable threat to the United States.
Welcome back to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. You're listening to me on United Public Radio, and it is great to see you all tonight. Trying to get my dinner in. In terms of the music, you're listening to Mark of the Doomslayer by, at least the intro music was Mark of the Doomslayer by Karl Casey. So you definitely check his YouTube channel out. But regardless, while it's not as much in the media right now, these incursions are still ongoing for folks, especially over Lakenheath. I just interviewed someone. Let's just make sure. Yeah, so there are still reports apparently in Lakenheath, and I just recently interviewed Holly Wood. That interview and she's over in the UK. That interview. Oh, my thoughts on the fires. Well, we'll get to that. So Holly Wood. It's not Hollywood. It's Holly Wood. Is based in the UK, and she was very close, and still is very close to the Lakenheath incident or incidents. And they continue to have drone incursions. People who live in that area just off the post are extremely nervous. They're worried that a nuclear war could start at any moment. They want to know if they should evacuate or leave. And the reason they're nervous, according to Holly, and you'll see this in the interview, in kind of end of this month or so, or beginning of next month, I think. Beginning of next month is in February. But they don't know what these things are. So there's initial reports, the U.S. military that we put out there, the U.S. government put out there, was saying like Russia and China. So some people are thinking they're Russian drones or Chinese drones, and they're thinking a nuclear war is imminent, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, how would they know? The government's not telling them anything. She's written the public affairs officer at Lakenheath personally via email, reached out to her, and the person, I verified it. The person's name is, I think she called her Major Hope Cronin. I don't know if she's a major. I didn't see any rank in her LinkedIn profile, but her name is Hope Cronin. And what her response was about these drones was, oh, it's just night training exercises. Don't be alarmed. Pilots are required to do some bit of night training in order to make sure that they're up with all their qualifications, etc. And the issue with that is, in the past, whenever they had night training, they would notify the locals that they would be conducting night training. So when they heard the sonic booms and stuff like that, they wouldn't be worried or astonished or terrified. They didn't get that warning this time. So and again, it is still continuing. The other thing that's happened in Lakenheath, I believe this may have been released publicly, but if it's not, well, you'll hear it here. But the UK government has sent the special their version of special forces, so SAS, SBS, so Special Air Service, Special Boat Service, the equivalents of Delta and the Navy SEALs, respectively, have been sent to deal with these drone incursions. So they're still happening. Still going on, still over, and you heard this governor's meeting in the last few days where there continue to be numerous accounts of drone incursions over nuclear power plants in Louisiana, over critical infrastructure in Wyoming, and over Quantico, which is, there are numerous places there. I think like Fort Pope, or is it Fort Pope? Pope Airfield or something like that. I think that's like CIA, where the farm's located or allegedly located. There's Quantico, Virginia. There's a Marine base. Apparently, it's the largest naval base in the world is at Quantico. So that's been overflown, as has Langley Air Force Base. So all this stuff continues to be in progress. So I think the last time we talked was, literally 7 days ago. So that was the 5th. So I'm just going to go through and see if there's anything that's discreetly new. Sure are. Let's see. Well, not necessarily. Okay, yeah, there was. So there was a Morris County, New Jersey resident and U.S. Army veterans. So one was 5-year artillery officer Fort Hood. No, ignore that. That's just, in my opinion, that's I'm not gonna comment on that one. It's not really helpful. Okay, there was a red orb, a video of a red orb, drones over NAS, Jacksonville. So it's a naval air station in Jacksonville. So that was January 8th. On January 5th, kind of just going back the same night we did the video, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. There was strange footage captured over the U.S. appeared to show a hovering UFO with an odd glow over a military base. Now, again, a lot of these, there's like anonymous users and stuff like that, so that some of them could be fakes. But an anonymous user posted footage from Tennessee to Reddit showing a bright orange light over Fort Campbell. The user said their father, who had significant military experience, was unable to explain what was behind the light. And the user wrote, quote, "My dad, a former soldier with nearly 30 years of Army experience and extensive knowledge of the aircraft that fly over his house, said he should explain what he saw." By the way, I'm using a chronology that Richard Geldrich put together on his Medium account. So you can check this after this video. I highly encourage you to go over there. I don't know if he accepts donations or subscriptions or whatever, but if he does, you should definitely support him. But that's where I'm getting this, because he's been meticulously keeping track of this. So the same user writes, quote, "Just after midnight, my dad was outside watching fireworks and he noticed a bright orange light flying relatively low and maintaining a steady, consistent speed as it traveled from the northwest, where both Fort Campbell and the local airport are located." And this is the user said this according to the Mail online. So Daily Mail, I guess, is reporting this. So my friend, dad, and I watched the object together and were surprised it had no additional lights as one might expect on a drone. Initially, I thought it might be a hobbyist drone capturing footage of the fireworks for the new year, but the apparent distance it was flying has made me second guess that assumption. So there's that. Okay, so we just talked about that, or you just saw in the opening montage, that press briefing with governors at Mar-a-Lago. That press briefing was January 9th. And at the briefing, as you saw, President Trump pledged that, quote, "I'm going to give you a report on drones about one day into the administration because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones." On January 9th, there was an incident at Prairie Island Nuclear Power Plant in Red Wing, Minnesota. So that's 3 so far. So you have Salem Nuclear Power Plant in New Jersey. There's another nuclear power plant that the governor of Louisiana was talking about in Louisiana. And now we have Prairie Island Nuclear Power Plant in Red Wing, Minnesota. So here's the quote. Quote, "Drones over Red Wing nuclear plant. Red Wing police say there are 2 drones flying over Prairie Island nuclear plant Wednesday evening. Police were not able to find who was flying the drones, and the incident is currently not under active investigation. Authorities say there is no active threat to the public." How do our authorities know this? How do they know? There's literally no way to know because we don't know what it is. So apparently there were 2 drones, and again, they could be drones, they could be orbs, they could be UAPs. We don't know. Oh, this is interesting. All right, so this is an opinion piece, so take this with a grain of salt. This appeared on The Hill on January 10th, 2025. And this is Mark von Rennenkampf, and he highlights a series of perplexing drone incursions over highly sensitive military sites of both the United States and the United Kingdom. Now, while some incidents may stem from espionage or adversarial intimidation, many remain unexplained and display characteristics well beyond conventional drone technology. These objects, which can hover silently, operate in adverse weather, evade detection, and even descend into the ocean, have prompted investigations at top levels of government. All right, so he just goes on to cite the recent incidents at Langley Air Force Base in 2023. There were parallel events in the United Kingdom. So this is similar swarms of brightly lit craft hovered over American military facilities, evading detection and countermeasures. And then, of course, these facilities are linked to nuclear weapons operations, raising security concerns. Apparently, from 2019 to 2020, there were swarms over nuclear missile fields. So this is law enforcement in Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Kansas observed large mothership objects surrounded by numerous smaller ones. The craft operated silently for hours in extreme weather conditions, behavior inconsistent with typical drones. There were U.S. Navy warship encounters over months in 2019. Swarms of unexplained objects maneuvered around Navy vessels far out to sea. In video recordings, spherical craft appear to move against strong winds and descend into the ocean without obvious propulsion systems. Okay, and then in this is more of a political thing. This is John Lanza. So in Flemington, Hunterdon County in New Jersey, there's a New Jersey senator, county commissioner speaking out about drones still being sighted in New Jersey. So again, we're 10 days by the point of this particular report into 2025, and this wave has not stopped. It keeps going. So John Lanza is quoted as saying, "Here we are at the local level dealing with legitimate complaints, legitimate fears, and we can't do a thing about it." It sounds like my audio is clipping a bit. So, actually, I know how to fix that. Bear with me, folks. I think I believe what I did is I jacked up the volume to super high, and as a result, it's clipping. So we'll adjust that. So I hope that's a little bit better. Okay. And I probably don't need to move the mic that much closer. All right, going back. By the way, thank you, Rich, for not only letting me read through your Medium post, which everyone should go to again immediately. And by the way, that's medium.com /at RICHGEL 99. Okay. And then if you do another / just I think it's mystery drone UAP wave chronology. All right. It's not exactly that, but you could probably do a search for it and find it. But anyway, we need to give credit where credit's due. All right. So fast forward to January 11th, 2025. There was, oh, wow. So this is the nuclear power plant that the governor of Louisiana was likely talking about. So there was over or near Entergy's River Bend nuclear power plant in West Feliciana Parish, or Feliciana, I don't know how to pronounce that, Louisiana. Oops. Okay, I'm just getting a repeat. All right. Okay, so local officials, including Parish President Kenny Havard and Sheriff Brian Spillman, are coordinating with federal and state authorities to address the issue. Havard, who lives close to the plant, reported hearing sounds he believed to be drones and emphasized the urgency of identifying their source. Attorney General Liz Muriel reassured the public that state and local law enforcement have the authority to act if the drones pose a threat, regardless of federal aviation regulations. All right. And then, of course, these sightings are coming amid broader concerns about security following a terrorist attack in New Orleans that prompted an emergency declaration. Governor Landry and local leaders expressed hope that the incoming federal administration will provide greater clarity and support in addressing the situation. However, now the drones are leaving officials and residents on edge. So that's kind of where we are up to date. But, folks, this phenomena is not showing any signs of slowing down, stopping, or pausing. And I made 10 predictions at the very beginning of this thing. And I'm just waiting for the last two to drop. And they may have already dropped, for all I know. Okay? So, and if I can actually, find that original post, let's see. I might just go through it. Bear with me. It's been a while since it was posted. Yep, nope. Still nothing yet. So I would love, here we go. All right, I found it. All right, so I'm going to pull this up because we're going to go through this. So I'm not sure if I can track one. Yep, I posted this on December 7th. Okay, so this is important. So stand by for a moment while I pull it up. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to go through some of the comments because I've been, oh boy. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because of the eucalyptus trees. But I can get into that later. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll talk about the fires as well, but I don't know if the office B8. I don't know if the Office of Special Investigations of the Air Force was questioning people around Lakenheath along with the local police. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would think that that's absolutely what they would do. Yeah, there's some weird stuff to that, Jalea. By the way, yeah, somebody I know has been talking about this a lot, but like a few months ago before this came out, like this, there was like a significant concern here. Oh man, APB, I'm sorry, man. If anybody, if you're religious or even if you're not, or you believe in the universe, source, whatever, just either pray or extend good thoughts. If you're like a Wiccan, do a spell, right? Spells are basically equivalent to prayers, right? At least scientifically, according to the research of Dean Radin, right? Like a prayer has a similar effectiveness as a spell, but APB is writing, I'm in the middle of these fires and I haven't slept for beans and weeks. Hope everybody is safe. It's beyond real. APB are like, I'm going to pray for you. So, and everybody on this podcast, just direct positive energy toward APB and make sure he's safe. Greer is saying the Cybertruck bomber who's a whistleblower. I shouldn't. I've never spoken to Greer, so I can't really have a fair opinion of him. There's just one thing he said that made me dubious. Okay. See, who comment actually do not believe it for Jack. Yeah, I don't know. It's still not too good, or is that an old comment? Very. Sorry, the StreamYard just muted me. Just decided to mute me. No reason, no warning, nothing. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, man. You might want to put some mud. I mean, put some mud on it. Mud holds moisture. All right, audio now. No, too much audio. Not enough. Okay, good. Okay, all right. I'm going to go to the next. Okay, I'm going to go to the next thing. Did he remote you back, Philip? Remote view you back? All right, good. All right, outstanding. Oh my lord. That's kind of annoying. Yeah. It's not something I need right now, brother. I don't until I make money, I can't spend money. Okay. Still not so good? Yeah. All right. All right, let's pull up this Twitter thing. Okay. All right, let's see what this looks like on my screen. And okay, yeah, I'm really self-conscious about audio, but thank you, Clint. I think we stabilized it. No, I don't want that. That might be a little bit better. Let's all right, that was not good. Okay. All right, we're back to where I need to be. Oh, brother. I'm just trying to get rid of these side panels so we can be a little bit more. There we go. So you all can see, and whoa. All right, here we go. All right, that should be pretty good. Okay. All right, so I wrote this back on December 7th. Okay, so maybe 2 weeks after the flap started, but before it became a big thing. It was mostly in the UK. So here's what I wrote. So if the mystery drone flap continues and the historical pattern holds, we can expect to see the following things in the upcoming days and weeks, which will accelerate or attenuate, i.e. tamp down a little bit, based on the current insane geopolitical situation, which could accelerate to the point where the Russians and U.S. resume underground nuclear testing, because neither side, frankly, knows if their nuclear weapons still work, as they haven't been tested in over 80 years, obviously in grammatical error, so bear with those. Okay, so the first thing was expansion of UAP sightings over more cities, areas. At that point in time, that phase had already begun. And an increase in disinfo narratives. The government was much more competent with these back in the 50s and 60s, and the population was far more compliant and had less access to conflicting information. So today's Mirage men are clearly not as competent given the insane counter narratives. It should be not counter natives, but counter narratives. Again, misspelling. That are either escalatory, e.g., Russia and Chinese air assets are regularly committing acts of war by violating U.S. and UK airspace, and our military assets are utterly impotent in downing them, or expose these governments to massive litigation risk, i.e., oh, we were just secretly testing hyper-advanced drones over areas with the highest concentrations of people in the United States without telling anyone, including the FBI, which is investigating the sightings, especially when we have thousands of square miles of training areas on multiple military bases to do so without disrupting life flights, etc. So again, already in progress. Social media operations to discredit UFO researchers and increase the stigma associated with the field. These operations involve using sock puppet accounts to spread video of perfectly normal phenomena, e.g. aircraft, helicopters, and balloons, but package them in ways that are ambiguous so they go viral in the UFO community. Once they reach critical mass, a debunker comes out and soundly explains away the video, and then uses its vitality, or sorry, not vitality, I meant to say virality, and then uses the virality of that video to taint the entire field and declare that since this video fooled everyone, then they probably all are fooling everyone. And this activity, it's kind of, when you see Mick West come in and debunk an obvious video, that's kind of his purpose. Although it is good to watch him debunk videos, because there is a method to that madness that you can use in your own life, that if you see something that's anomalous, there are tools you can use to verify that it is anomalous or verify that it was actually an aircraft. So those particular posts from Mick West, I think, are actually a good service for people to learn how to, validate their own sanity, let's just say. But again, even people who are paid misinformation and disinformation agents provide a service in the sense that they can help you make your experiences, if you have one, much more robust. So the next thing that I predicted, by the way, 3 for 3 so far, social engineering and network node analysis. Malactors in the intelligence community are using software developed at the turn of the century to map key nodes and social networks among key social media influencers in order to shape the narrative. They are also seeking to influence quote-unquote elite networks behind the scenes using apps like Signal to spread preposterous narratives while shielding their public reputations from the scrutiny it might invite. Again, actively happening now. So what will happen is somebody who has cred in the community will spread some narrative and thereby lending their reputation to that in a private exclusive Signal group. Then, they can put out some of these narratives and get people to spread them. What's happened in recent days is whoever's the Mirage men, whoever's running these ops, have converted almost entirely to these exclusive private signal groups. And because I'm not a member of any of them, right, I do sometimes hear some of these preposterous theories. The latest one that I heard was that the drones over New Jersey were ours, and it was a psychological operation to assess if we were how the population would react to disclosure, right? Which is preposterous, right? There's plenty of historical precedent that you can look to, right? There's kind of the 1939 War of the Worlds incident in New Jersey. There's the 1952 overflight of the White House, where it was, presumably less panic. You can also do surveys, studies, and do any number of things to assess this without spending millions of dollars by flying SUV-sized drones over the most concentrated state in the union, and thereby expose the government to litigation risk. Screw up the air traffic control, resulting in people dying because they can't get life flights, and all sorts of other panicking people, unnecessarily. So, but anyway, number 4 has been happening and continues to be ongoing. All right, so reports of electromagnetic interference with electronics. So there are already sporadic reports like this. So there's a future interview that I did with Nathaniel Gillis, and he lives like 10 minutes from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe his uncle works somewhere on that installation. Apparently, at some base, I don't know if it's Wright-Patterson, could be. And by the way, I didn't mention this at the very beginning. On like day 4 or 5, the U.S. at Lakenheath triggered its anti-drone systems. Okay, and I think may have augmented them as well. No impact on these things. Okay, so systems designed to that purpose, that specific purpose of taking down these conventional drones, did not operate effectively against whatever is flying against these things. But anyway, going back to Nathaniel Gillis's point, and you'll see this in a future episode that I think it's coming in a week or two. But what he said was that the government sent up drones, our own drones, to investigate these anomalous drones, UAPs. And what he said was that they were unable to properly gauge the distance between our drones and these mysterious objects. And one reason for that could be that maybe these things are warping space-time, so there's a lensing effect. You wouldn't be able to judge distance too quickly. The other thing that he mentioned is that the moment these things, like our drones, got close, their batteries were suddenly drained and then kind of just dropped like rocks. So take that for what it's worth, but I believe there have been some other reports of these strange electromagnetic interference with electronic equipment. And then again, you have number 6, decoy operations by U.S. government to provide evidence of a counter narrative. The U.S. Air Force did this in the 40s, 50s, and 60s with balloons, etc., to increase the noise to signal ratio and hide the truth. So I believe there's a picture of some firefighter or police officer in New York where he's got some sort of like a conventional drone, like running it up like, solved it, finished it, like solved the entire problem. So you're seeing some of that. That definitely has come true. So 6 for 6. Shoot downs and landings. In the very first day, there was already one report of a potential shoot down over the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. And of course, that report kind of went dark. Haven't heard or seen anything since then. It doesn't mean, look, I haven't been looking for it. So that doesn't mean that there is follow-up. I just haven't seen it. So 7's for 7. All All right, sightings of operators' entities. So this is when things start to get very weird with an increase in high strangeness, such as missing time, strange entities spotted near UAP sightings, homes, ground traces, missing time, poltergeist activity in homes, orb sightings. So I have not seen any credible reports that any of this on item number 8 has happened yet. Okay. Maybe some orb sightings, but I'm not going to count that as like this has to be a little bit more substantive. Okay. I think that's anybody who, just to be fair. So I would say we're 7 for 8 right now. Okay. So number 9, closely associated with these sightings are visits by the so called men in black. Some of these individuals will be FBI, some will be the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and others will be something that mimicked these organizations, but it's historically been reported as entirely highly strange and otherworldly. So, if one of the commenters earlier is correct that the Air Force Office of Special Investigations already started visiting people in the UK, that'll hit. But there's also other reports that FBI agents were visiting people, in the wake of the drone case. In some cases, asking them to remove their videos from to remove videos from social media and stuff like that. So it looks like we're 8 for 9 right now. And then the last one, if the geopolitical situation continues to spiral, situation may result in an increase in alleged abduction activity. So, and again, just a caveat, this analysis can be entirely off the mark, but in order for that to be true, not try, one would have to ascribe an astonishing level of incompetence to the elites in control of the U.S. military-industrial complex. So right now we're 8 for 10. That doesn't mean that some of these events haven't happened and just weren't reported, but I have not seen any evidence to suggest that just yet. So, but I don't think this stuff's going to stop. The next question, though, is Trump has publicly said that he would, on the 21st of January, so 9 days from now, would provide an explanation to the American people about what was driving these drone sightings. So I'm not optimistic because I think as soon as he gets back into the machine, they'll keep him quiet. But that's kind of how it rolls. That's kind of how it works. So we shall see. All right. Let me go through some of the. All right. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of these. All right. I just found out where we are. Okay. All right. So the FBI memo 6751. Let's see what ChatGPT. Just give me a second. F. 6751. All right, I'm just looking at this right now. Yeah, so here's kind of what it looks like. This is not the actual document. This is just a summary of it. So yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm kind of slow tonight. People probably couldn't hear me. What a waste of money. Hey, good evening, Miss Tessa. Yeah, APB, I'm pretty sure it's not Russia or China. This is not how they would use technology like that. If they had technology like that, the first time anyone saw it would be in an open conflict. I have not seen the large UFO that was caught by Fox 11 Los Angeles. I did see the thing that looks like it's zooming across the screen, but that's not. That was like a small aircraft. Anyway, here's kind of what that document is alleged to say. Let me just present. All right, so this is the FBI memo 6751, often referred to in UFO circles, is a document dated July 8th, 1947. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like the day of or day after Roswell. It's declassified, made public through the FBI's vault. All right, so it was supposedly written by an unknown academic or scientist sent to the FBI. It describes several key points regarding extraterrestrial beings and their spacecraft. The memo is unusual in its speculative tone and its mix of metaphysical and scientific claims. Below are some notable claims from the document. So the memo claims that extraterrestrial beings originate from a higher dimensional or etheric plane that coincides with their physical world. These beings are described as not being inhabitants of a planet as we use the word, but as interdimensional travelers. The flying saucers are described as being constructed of a type of radiant metal and capable of disintegrating human-made aircraft that get too close to them. The propulsion system of these craft reportedly uses a form of energy unknown to humans. The beings are said to resemble humans, but are much larger, possibly up to 3 feet taller. They are described as peaceful and possessing technologies far beyond current human capabilities. The beings supposedly visit Earth for peaceful purposes and do not intend to interfere with human society unless provoked. The memo suggests that these beings can become invisible at will by transitioning between dimensions, which may explain why they appear to vanish from radar and visual sight. While memo 6751 has stirred significant interest, many researchers and skeptics view it with caution. It is important to note the document appears in the FBI's files as an unsolicited letter rather than an official report. No corroborative evidence has been found to support the claims made in the memo. It is often cited in discussions of conspiracy theories about UFOs and extraterrestrial visitations. Yeah, let's see a full transcript. I absolutely would like to see a full transcript. Okay, so yeah, so he's the head of a university department, whatever that means. So part of the discs carry crews, others are often under remote control. Their mission is peaceful. Visitors contemplate settling on this plane. These visitors are human-like but much larger in size. They are not Earth people, but come from their own world. They do not come from a planet as we use the word, but from an etheric planet that interpenetrates with our own and is not perceptible to us. The bodies of the visitor and the craft automatically materialize on entering the vibratory rate of our dense matter. The discs possess a type of radiant energy or array which will easily disintegrate any attacking ship. They enter the etheric at will and so simply disappear from our vision without a trace. The region from which they come is not the astral plane, but corresponds to the locus or talus. Students of esoteric matters will understand these terms. They probably cannot be reached by radio, but probably can be by radar. That's interesting. If a signal system can be devised for that. Okay, so this is just... Yeah, so terms like locus and talus are drawn from the Hindu and theosophical teachings, referring to different planes of existence or realms beyond ordinary human perception. The mention of a ray weapon capable of disintegrating attackers reflects popular science fiction imagery at the time. Yeah, so, unverified source. And then, yeah, that's the thing. The memo was dated July 1947, coinciding with the famous Roswell incident, further fueling speculation that may have been connected to early government interest in UFOs. Or it could be connected to a hoax because they're just using a connection, right? Okay, I think that's... I don't know if there's much more to cover on that particular topic. Okay. Hey, Jesse, welcome. And congratulations for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, let's see. All right, here we are. I don't think Fleabidus we'd be able to actually deport them. I think they could probably do whatever they wanted. Okay, there's been a long there apparently have been a long of UAP. Well, yeah, I mean, there's the Battle of Los Angeles, I think, in 1942. There's one such case. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen. I saw one that kind of looked like one, but it had a... You could see chemical propulsion trail, and then there was a pretty good video where Mick West went and found what time the video was, and then he looked at the air traffic at that time and accounted for every object in the sky. So I'll give him credit for that one. But I don't know if that's the same video you're talking about. I'm assuming it's not. It's not the round robin document. Okay, let me check the round robin document. If I could find the thing. All right. Okay, that one was 1945. Oh, this is interesting. So more came out. It was authored by Mead Lane from the Borderland Sciences Research Associates, BSRA. That's interesting. Yeah, I think it's confusing a bunch of different documents, Jalea. I'm not getting what I need from ChatGPT. Yeah, it sounds like it might. Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I just blasted right into a commercial. Yeah, no. This is the one I was talking about. So, I mean, I'll share it, but where is this thing? Okay. Bear with me. I'm going to try to get a little bit a better view. You probably won't be able to hear it, but yeah, I've seen this a million times.
Saying happened right there across the West Hills area is exactly what we've been forecasting with that red flag warning being in place. You know, that big red or pink map that we've had out, you know, through this entire event is just indication that wherever those highlights were, that any of that area likely to see any of this happen. And this is exactly what's unfolding there. So at the very top of our headlines, we are coming to the end of that break where we did have those lighter northeast winds and winds picking up into our afternoon, and they're expecting to roll over into portions of tomorrow as well. And so with that, we've had the National Weather Service extend our red flag warning, and you know that not leave us with, again, some more of those gusts.
Skyfox up and over the scene, and oh gosh, I hate to say this.
No.
Yes, so this is a massive plume of smoke already, and I did see this
trying to
cross.
find
That
it.
this is about 20 acres near the West Hills area, and this started along the border of LA County and Ventura County. 20 acres.
Yeah, because Star, we had a bit of a
Yeah, let me just find the timestamp. Here, let me stop share for a second. Okay, so that timestamp. Looks like 118. Okay. Am I not seeing it? All right, let's try this again. So I think that's it right there. Yeah, so you can't see this on the. Let's see this idiot. All right, so you're looking at this right here. You can kind of see there's like some sort of exhaust here. So you can see it's there. Yeah, there's just not. So this is the object everybody's talking about, which for one reason or another I cannot see, or I can't zoom. It won't let me zoom for whatever annoying reason.
Ends up picking up, and it won't just.
So again, we're talking about this. So this is the exact video that Mick West, what he did was he looked at all the aircraft in the sky at that time and traced this to a specific aircraft. So maybe, unless he did some sort of sleight of hand, but I think this is probably just bad optics more than anything else. But I don't know. I would defer judgment, but I would not say it's like a strong indication that it's either way. All right, let's see. Okay, increase of US. Yeah, I've heard that too. I've definitely heard that for sure, that there have been a increase of UFO UAP activity going on since the fires in Los Angeles. I haven't gathered any examples yet, but yeah, it doesn't, but it just could be the bad resolution of the. Yeah, I obviously got it. I got it. That's true. I could definitely do a slow playback. I think I might just go and do that. No, yeah, the advent of digital video doesn't help, right? Like there are definitely artifacts. Like I took a picture over Catalina and it looked like there was like a bell-shaped UFO, but it wasn't. It was just a reflection off of like lights below. But the lights from the iPhone definitely made it harder to, definitely created the artifact. So, but my guess is this is from a news camera. But now I want to go back and see if I can slow it down. All right. Let's see. Yeah, it's the best quality we can get there. Playback speed. All right, here we go.
We are.
There it is, right there.
Going to see those winds picking up. And
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's still hard to. That the resolution is just terrible. So I don't know what to think. I the one place where I am not competent to judge anything, it's like video evidence. I'm just not great at that. Okay. All right. Now, speaking of the fires, number one, it's a horrible tragedy, and my condolences go out to everybody who. I mean, just to lose someone's home is almost as bad as losing a loved one. Like it's an absolute tragedy and disaster to lose everything you've owned. Like I don't wish that on anyone. And I think part of it is just do I think climate change started it? No. But I think someone, probably an arsonist, probably started a fire, and then the Santa Ana winds contributed to it. Also, you have these eucalyptus trees, which are filled with oil. They were planted in like the 1920s, so they've had 100 years to ripen. And that's, and then you had kind of DEI incompetence, right? So like less than 5% of the firefighters in the Los Angeles Fire Department are women, but like the top 3 positions are like are all women, right? So like by chance, are you going to get the best people that way? Not by chance, no. So they kind of catered to that. They decreased their budget by 17.6 million and then sent a bunch of fire equipment over to Ukraine. It's just, you reap what you sow. And when you have these insane DEI policies, this is the result. This is what you get. You get rife incompetence. Not that people of, not that diversity is a bad thing or anything like that, but diversity is fine. Just make sure that the people you put in there, you're not putting them in there because, they're a certain color or have a certain sexual preference. Just, you put the best person there. I don't care if they're purple, blue, or orange. I don't care. As long as they're the most competent people. And that's not what we were selecting for. So, and there's really not much more to say than that, other than just to pray for people and hope. And the other thing too is, like, the state of California made things worse too. They mandated that these insurance companies couldn't raise rates, like they capped rates. So given all the risk and kind of the lack of controlled burns and things like that, that the Forestry Service should have been doing a long time ago and never did, or I don't know if they never did, but it's just too little too late if they did do anything. It just created this situation. I mean, you have fire hydrants that just weren't working because they didn't have backup generators. So not PG&E, but Southern California Edison turned off the power, hopefully, in the goal of reducing kind of the sparking from electric and causing electrical fires. And as a result, it cut off the power to the fire hydrants, which should have had backup generators and didn't. And I believe that's a standard practice, which Los Angeles obviously wasn't. They're more concerned about the composition of the workforce than actual effectiveness. So Yeah, I don't think it's fake. I just think it's. I can't. It certainly looks anomalous, Solite, but the one thing that has me pause is two things. The resolution isn't great, and two, Mick West actually looked at all the planes in the sky at the time, and there was a plane traveling along that route at exactly that time. So that's why I get kind of pause. Like I've seen lights in the sky that don't appear to move or are moving, look like they're hovering and things like that. But then if you check the like ATSB website for planes in the area at that time, like I would find that, yep, there was a plane there and there's a plane there, right? So it's a good practice to have and just to check. But I'm glad I like, again, everything that Mick West sees is not a UFO, not a UAP, but he still has some pretty good techniques that you can take from him to verify your own sightings, to make sure that you don't falsely report or falsely mistake something that is just a plane for something else. So, but just look at the Mick West debunk. Let me see if I can actually find it. And then let the audience decide. But I'm still skeptical about that particular video. Oh yeah, I think I actually retweeted it. Here we go. All right, I can't believe I'm sharing this, but I think it's fair. I think it's fair to share these things because I think they're helpful. All right, so this is from Mick West. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to hear him, but we'll find out. Just give me a second. Just make sure. Okay, good. All right. Just give me a moment.
Everyone. So this UFO video came up during the LA fires a couple of days ago, and it shows like there's a little white dot moving along here, which isn't actually the UFO people are interested in. It's this one over here. Let me zip back a little bit here. You see something kind of like a long dark object kind of comes in.
Can you all hear him?
Scene. Now we can see this video isn't very good quality. It's, we can't even make out any detail in these houses, very much in the background either. So, the immediate thought here was that this was just like some kind of plane or maybe a helicopter moving along underneath this news.
Yeah, he's showing that one.
Live footage from a news helicopter. And this white thing here, didn't know what that was initially. Maybe another plane. It had to be a small one or maybe like a balloon or something. But this was actually solved yesterday. And it was solved by Flarkey, who's great at solving this type of thing. Figured out exactly what was going on, where the helicopter was, the news helicopter, and what this was. This is actually a plane, and this down here is actually another plane. How did he do that? Well, I thought it might be a good idea for me to kind of go through the process of how
this is what's useful.
He and I do these.
This part's useful. This is where Mick West is actually really useful.
Now, the first thing with any UFO case like this that you want to get is the date, the time, and the location. And with this news video, we have that. It's we say it's in the West Hills neighborhood in the LA area. We got all these street names here: Crummer Canyon Road, and we've got the time here, 4:55 p.m. Central Time, and we know this is in LA, so this will be Pacific time, which is 2 hours earlier. So that would be 2:55 p.m. Pacific time. So the first thing to do is kind of figure out exactly where we are, and we've got these roads. Let's just look them up. We can let's load up a web browser. All right, so here's Crummer Canyon Road, and we can see the various houses and things that are there. And from this, we can figure out what they're actually looking at. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit here, So these houses over here, Country Oak Road, etc., is these houses here, Country Oak Road, right there. Okay, so we know what we're looking at. So this kind of tells us, what direction we're looking at. We're looking in this direction, and so we're kind of looking towards the northwest from approximately the 101. So the helicopter's somewhere around where I put this camera right here. So it's over the Hidden Hills area. So I found this useful AI tool the other day, and if you just simply type in the location, date, and time, it will provide you a very useful link to ADSB Exchange. So I'm going to go to January the 9th, 2025, and 2:55 p.m. And in Hidden Hills, CA. Okie dokie. So it converts it to Zulu time, which is UTC time, and gives me a link. View aircraft movements. Click on that. It's going to open ADSB Exchange. We know roughly what we're looking at, the West Hills area here, and we're looking in this direction towards the northwest. Going to move back a minute, make sure I don't miss anything. Now, you're going to find the helicopter first. There's a couple of helicopters here. This one has an FD at the end, which means it's the fire department. This one has a TV at the end, which means it's a TV helicopter. So this is going to be the one here. There's 3 planes kind of roughly in the direction that we're looking in. So these are pretty likely to be, one of these planes is likely to be the one that we saw. They're all kind of circling around. If I click on each one, we can get the information about them. See, the news helicopter is at 7,450 feet, so it's pretty high up looking down. This plane here is at 4,700. This plane's at 5,800. This plane here is at 2,600. So all these 3 planes are below the helicopter, so it would be able to see all 3 of these planes looking in this direction. I'm going to toggle the multi-track select, and I can click on each of those 3 planes, and the news helicopters selected there as well. So I've got 3 planes selected. Now I'm going to let it play for a minute, and we'll see this plane here kind of goes in front of the news helicopter, quite close to it, which makes it a big candidate. So see, that one is the 108 SA. And then the other planes, perhaps little white dots in the background. So let's see, that's probably enough because it's already gone past it. So I'm going to export the KML. Go down here, click on geometric altitude. Doesn't really matter which one you use. I usually use geometric altitude. It does matter in some cases, but in this case, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so this has downloaded it. So now, if I just shrink my window a little bit and just drag in that from my download folder into here, this is the KML file I just downloaded. I could load it into Google Earth, but what I'm going to do is load it into SITREC. Now, SITREC is my software that I wrote, situation recreation software, and it's something that I and Flocky and others use to recreate these situations. What you can do is you can take your video and you can drop the video into it, and then you can take things like KML tracks, which you've got from wherever, and you can set up a situation using those KML tracks. Now, let's show you the process here. So what it's done here is it has taken the first one as being the camera, and it's taken like 108. We want the TV one to be the camera. So I go to camera and change camera track to be the TV. And then I'm going to change the camera heading to be use angles, so I can just point the camera wherever I want. Now, I've only got a little bit of the map here, so I'm going to extend that out a bit by changing the number of tiles. Let's reduce the zoom level a little bit, so we should get more details. All right, so now we can see the background over there, and we know where we're looking in this direction. So I go over here, and so this is one of the planes over there. So now we're looking in this direction. So this is showing this track here, N413 something something. And if I back up a little bit,
yeah,
the other one comes in. So this is probably the bigger plane that comes in from over here, and this will be the little white dot in the background. Now the times here, 22:54, let's see, 14:54, PST. Let me just change the time zone to Central, so it matches what we see, Central Standard Time, matches what we see on the TV here, 4:55. So here, yeah, 16:54 and a bit. Now we need to adjust these so that looking from the helicopter, things match up. Let's see. So if I can zoom in here, we see these streets here kind of match what we're seeing here. Let me see if I can increase the resolution a little bit. Zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, one more. Okay, so that should be enough. Okay, that's good. So now we see we're looking at the same things. And this is the plane that comes in. So what I'm going to do is adjust it so this more distant object uses big spears for the default. We'll change them to planes in a minute. Lines up with this.
Let me see if I
see
can.
These.
I'm going to fast forward this a little bit
Valleys.
because I don't want to have
here.
too
There's
much of this.
ravines. These little ravines that they have here. Right now, it's over this different. The same as this one, and then we should see this one come in at the same rate as this plane in the background, which it does. And we see they kind of like, you know, they overlap at the same position. So this one here is, let's see, what is that? This is the, and I can't even read that. It's going to be this the we played it in the video. This one with the particular this with it, and if we press play from the start, we'll see that the movement of this one matches exactly with this dot. And this is just, you know, the data that I just downloaded from ADSB Exchange. I didn't do any programming or anything to make these paths. It's just following the data. So I'm just going to press play. Watch this dot here, moves the same as this one. And then when this one comes in here, in a second, there it is. It's exactly the same down here, because they zoom in with the camera a little bit, which kind of changes things a bit. But we can see that they're in the exact same position. In fact, what you can do is look to see where one is above the other. Let's see, or where one, let's see, this one here is above the end of these streets right here, about there. And you can kind of, these two used ADSB Exchange.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to
find
stop. Okay. Now I'm just trying to find my place here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's what happened. I think, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due, even if you don't like the answer. I think Mick West kind of decisively, I shouldn't say decisively, but I think he fairly debunked it. Unfortunately, I'd like to believe that, but I mean, I have pictures of things that look like cigars, but they're just very narrow aircraft. So, you know, I see that kind of profile all the time. But anyway, all right. Well, what do folks want me to talk about? Because we're, you know, kind of about 40 minutes left, and I think I've exhausted the mystery objects topic. And there's not much more you can say about the fire. I mean, it is a nexus of pure incompetence all at once. Just bad luck mixed with pure incompetence. So, by the way, we had, you know, where I live, we had an earthquake today. It was about 3.7. It was fine. It wasn't bad at all. But definitely felt it at 8:49 this morning. So good stuff. I mean, hopefully we stay okay for a while, because I don't think California could sustain another crisis at this exact point in time. It would be an absolute disaster. So, hey, everybody's quiet now. Everybody's totally quiet. Here we go. It's still scratchy? It's kind of annoying. That's hugely annoying, actually. Good question. Nope, no response. Zero response. All right, I'm rolling with boner dice. Very nice. Yeah, I don't know what I can do about it at this point. I'm just going to try to do my best. Even if I move this closer. Gonna screw with the light a little bit. Afraid to talk about the mainframe. What do you mean mainframe specifically? Everybody's quiet now. Everybody was so boisterous earlier. I guess putting Mick West and having him debunk a video is not super inspiring. But look, you got to go where the data sends you, especially if you don't like it. I haven't. So Alpha Draco is asking, what do I think about Elena Danan? Is she a legitimate source for information on extraterrestrial contact? I haven't done any research on her, Alpha. So I don't have an opinion either way. I would. And the other thing too, in this space, few people have proof of anything, so it's hard to assess these things. Okay, the matrix that Edward Reardon saw parts of, but he did not understand exactly the mainframe. Yeah, I don't know enough about it to talk about it. So I would have to talk to Edward Reardon and ask him directly. All right, what else? What else we got? Anything that Stephen. So the question I'm getting is, any thoughts on the promised "quote unquote" disclosure that Stephen Greer says will begin tomorrow? Look, I'll believe it when I see it, but my view is that Greer works very closely with Robert Pandolfi, or Dr. Robert Pandolfi. He's all but mentioned his name in various correspondences. And I think at the very beginning of the disclosure movement, Greer was very helpful and more pure of heart. Now I think he's been... he may have been. There's no way for me to know, but it feels like a bunch of stuff he puts out is legit, and then kind of a balanced amount of stuff that he puts out is complete and utter misinformation. And when I interviewed Dr. Joseph Burks, who used to work with Greer, he said that Greer started getting close with the IC community. So I don't know what to think about him. I would just be very careful about taking any claims that he makes at face value. So Yeah, it's just this stuff's hard to figure out. Yeah, so Alpha's writing fair. Danan claims to have a piece of technology she uses to communicate with her contacts off-world instead of via channeling like most other contactees. What are your thoughts about channels? Funny you mentioned that. So I had did an interview recently with Grant Cameron, and we talked about the history of the CIA's Weird Desk. And part of that history is folks associated with the CIA, I think originally Naval Intelligence, went and visited this woman. Her last name was Swan. I forget what her first name was. And just look up Arthur Lundahl, Lundahl, who may have been the first head of the CIA's Weird Desk. There was a channeler that was up in Elliott, Maine. And there are declassified documents that show all this stuff. And the CIA folks went and were watching her channel. The Canadians, somebody named Wilbert Smith on the Canadian side, were also interested in her. And she was apparently communicating with these entities. But at one point she said, "Why do you keep asking me to do this stuff? Just do it yourself. I'll show you." So she showed one of these CIA naval intelligence types. And as an excuse to fly up to Elliott, Maine, they used it as like needed more flight time. And apparently one of these guys went back to Washington, was channeling, and someone from the CIA said, "Well, show us proof." And apparently in the middle of the day, and whatever he was channeling said, "Well, when?" And they said, "Now." So he's like, "Okay, look outside the window." And there was a UFO just hovering outside the window when they asked this intelligence guy he was channeling. So I think there's something to it. I don't quite know. It seems like it's could be a little unsafe to me, right? It opens you up to possession and things like that, which is a real thing. There are exorcisms and things like that, but I'm not really sure of the mechanism. I think, kind of giving yourself and letting some other entity that you have no way of verifying or vetting occupy your body, I think could be pretty dangerous, right? It's like just giving some random person on the street keys to your car and say, "Have at it, have fun." So I would be careful. Let's see. All right, where were we? Oh, David Oates found reversals.o. Are channelers legitimately contacting extraterrestrials, or are they contacting demons? Fair question. Like, I think there was something like the Ashtar Command or something like that. When I talked to Greenfield, that's something that they channeled in the 1950s. That was like a well-known demonic entity that masquerading as extraterrestrials. But it's just one of these things you have to be super careful, right, of doing this stuff. And this woman, Swan, whatever, I forget what her first name is. Might be like, I'm not going to say her first name because I'll probably screw it up. But it sounds like she started with automatic writing and then progressed into this kind of back and forth sort of thing. Oh yeah, I believe that. I believe that David Oates found plenty of reversals on him. Yeah. Yeah, and he's very cozy with the intelligence community. No, Dr. Joseph Burks. So I interviewed him twice. You can it's Burkes, Burks. Just look him up. I have a playlist with those interviews. And he goes into this whole thing. He covers this whole aspect of Greer in a fair, balanced, and not kind of malicious way. So, just listen to him. You don't have to believe him, but it's definitely worth listening because he worked closely with Greer at the beginning. And he kind of came up with an alternative to CE5 called HICE, Human Initiated Contact Events. But yeah, it is a one-time fee. Oh, I did not see that. I've been like, I've just been constantly working. If I'm not working at my day job, I'm working at this. Like I literally from like 7:30 this morning until now, I've just been working continuously. So I haven't had a chance to watch any of that stuff. Hey, how you doing, Elsa? Good to see you. It's absolutely a pleasure to see you. Yeah, Jalea, what did this team remote you? I wasn't. Hey, Justin, good to see you. All right, I meant it probably got lost. Oh, I see what Elsa's saying. Yeah, Elsa, you can confirm. I think what you're saying is if you're channeling, it depends on the frequency, right? So I'm guessing the frequency of the channeler as well as the frequency of the being. So, and I'm going to extrapolate, and please correct me if I'm wrong. A lower frequency channeler, who's somebody's, when we say lower frequency, we're talking kind of negativity, things like that, would more likely attract demonic or demonic realm. What I don't know what the right language is, but lower frequency negative entities, where someone who is much higher in frequency would more likely attract higher frequency, more positive type entities. I guess, but please confirm if you can, if you hear this at all. Yeah, people are hating on Greer. Look, I never met him, so I'm not. I'm just. I would be very fair and balanced when I would talk to him. All right. So, what about the other guy you mentioned, where Greer doesn't want to talk or mention about? Oh, Pandolfi. I mean, he was the head of the CIA's Weird Desk. So it started with Art Lundahl, and then it progressed to Kit Green, and then it became Ron Pandolfi. Yeah, I want to believe all this stuff too, but until you know, you'll never know. Oh, you're talking about Philip Blackburn did the remote viewing today. All right, what are the best and most conclusive evidence for the existence of extraterrestrials that you know of? I'm trying to think of that's a great question. But here's the thing, I don't know if I'm not convinced it's extraterrestrials, right? I think it's more likely to be interdimensional, like some group of beings that are phasing in and out of our reality. I mean, it could be all of the above, but yeah, it's really because physical evidence doesn't survive that far, right? It doesn't. I'm going to have to think about that for a while. That's a great question. That is and that's a question that everybody should ask. What's the best evidence? Because there's not great evidence, to be honest. Like there's not. Everything is based on stories, right? I think the stuff at Skinwalker is pretty compelling, but again, it's based on stories. So where something locked these bulls into this cattle car without unlocking the cattle car, they just somehow phased in there or something. Like there's a lot of incidents but again, they're all stories. So how do you know that people aren't making them up? I think the most convincing video is the video of the UFO in Turkey, where you can actually see the beings on the craft. That's the creepiest one. That's the one that looks the most realistic. That doesn't mean it is real, but it looks pretty damning. I'll go with that. Oh, regarding remote viewing. Okay. Yeah, I guess I probably misinterpreted. Yeah, it sounds like Greer. He's a whistleblower, but can only tell us what the government gives him permission to say. Yeah, I think that's fair. Podesta leaked demos showed he said ETs were gonna. Yeah, who knows? Huh. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't interview him then, because I would try to have a fair back and forth. The one thing that Greer said that just made me much more skeptical is the whole thing that the government offered him $1 billion to keep quiet. That's not credible at all. It's just not. Yeah, I have listened to some of the telepathy tapes podcast, but I've been, I think I've been convinced remote viewing is real for a while, so that it's not that much of a stretch to say telepathy's real as well. Okay, then how about this? What's the difference between transdimensional entities and extraterrestrials? I think the best way to tell if something is legit if it makes the most sense. The way I would recommend is it's kind of like a hue. If you just think of a radio station, and on a radio station, every station is just a radio wave vibrating at a different or electromagnetic radiation. That's it's an electromagnetic wave vibrating at a higher or lower frequency depending which direction you are in the radio. You're going on the radio station. So imagine that molecules vibrate at a certain rate, DNA vibrates at a certain rate, like everything's vibrating and resonating at a certain frequency. So if you just imagine that another reality could occupy the same space, it's just vibrating at a different higher or lower frequency, then you can compact, limited space with a lot more overlapping parallel realities and things like that. So that would be the difference. Whereas an extraterrestrial would be in our reality, it would just be coming from space. Whereas a transdimensional being would be on our planet, but just vibrating at a higher or lower respective frequency. So again, it sounds kind of woo, but I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I'm kind of going with. So James Fox said he was able to get into a skiff, and he was told that his documentary, The Phenomenon, is required to watch. Yeah, it's a good starter. It's like a good primer for people getting into it. Yeah, I think that's fair, Justin. I mean, it would be nice to have proof, right? But I would like to have my own proof. Like, I have plenty of synchronicities. I've had instances of precognition, and have had weird incidents with animals, but there's nothing that's solid, right? Let me see. That's a good. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm just trying to find a good. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. I got it. I don't think it's a great resolution video, but bear with me. I just have to. I have to share it now. All right, let's see. All right, you see the entity here? I have it on like extreme slow-mo, so. Oh, this is even crazier. Oh. There you go. There you go. Anyway, that's probably the best. I mean, there may be more, but that's the best one I think I've ever seen. Yeah, it's definitely about nonverbal autistic children are the ones that exhibit these skills. So definitely check that out. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you also. I mean, the best evidence is that the government openly did it for 20 years. Spent $20 million on the program and put people on the. If it didn't work, they wouldn't blow so much money on it. Yeah, I agree, Alpha. Yeah, so it is possible then for an entity to be both an extraterrestrial and transdimensional. Yeah, I mean, if that's the mechanism by how it works, yes. But again, I'm speculating, right? I don't know. Yeah, that's yeah. They do. Yeah, apparently do speak to the dead and those things too. Can I boost the quality? Oh no, that's the best. That's the best I could do. I mean, that's just. I mean, at least on the in the time I had on this live stream. I don't know. It looks the most convincing to me. That doesn't mean it's real. I'm not a video expert. That's one place where I won't. That's a hill I will not die on. Like I'm just not an expert on that stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's an amazing video. Oh wow. Yeah, you might want to definitely check out the telepathy tapes because you might find a way to better way to communicate with her. Oh wow, over Daytona Beach. Yeah, it's just so random. Yeah, and that's Jacksonville was there's a recent sighting there too. That sounds about right. Interesting. Yeah, I think they did. I think, yeah, all the top remote viewers definitely predicted Trump would win. So did Christopher Robinson, who was not necessarily a remote viewer. He's a precognitive dreamer. Yeah, thank you, Justin. I appreciate first time. Yeah, the algorithm is pretty parsimonious with me. A lot of people who are into the stuff like discover my channel long after it's been around. We're on in 10 days it will be this channel's third anniversary. So we will have been around for 3 full years. So not where I thought I'd be around 100,000 by this point, but it is what it is in terms of subscribers. But it's growth is starting to accelerate again, but it's very slow. It takes a very long time. After my first year, I think, at least first calendar year, I think I didn't even crack 1,000. I think I was at 959, something like that. The second year, I was like 3,700 something, and then in the third year, I think I ended the year at 11,350. Like it's just slow. Yeah, I saw something very quickly about that. So, for folks on the radio, Alpha Draco is asking, "What do you think about all the noises coming from the night sky? I've been hearing stories of booms scaring people at night." I don't know. I haven't really investigated that to any degree. I've just like seen it, like it's kind of passing. Not really. I mean, we've had fog, for a little bit, but not. But in where I live, it's kind of normal this time of year. Yeah, well, I was kind of worried that they would, you know, do what they did not this past election, but the election before, where they just controlled all the information sources and prevented bad news from spreading, or at least bad news from the Biden administration's perspective. Yeah, like the trumpet sound, like weird trumpet sounds. Yeah, so I don't think there was anything really to this fog thing. I think people are just getting more and more paranoid because the government's been lying to them so often that there's really no reason to believe in anything that they're telling you. So people start kind of coming up with their own narratives. So I don't know. Really don't know. Wow. X is going nuts on this show today. Lots of views on X. Interesting. Very interesting. That X is trending at almost double what YouTube is for this particular stream, which is, I mean, not always surprising. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like it's paranoia, but again, how would I know, right? Could it be some sort of like secret government program like MK Ultra only with fog? Sure, but I would side with it's just paranoia and like contagion, right? In terms of like hysterical contagion. No, have I ever heard of Calendrix? This is the guy who uses his method and he predicts China attacking Taiwan and a crash happening in May. Well, May would be the time that China would attack Taiwan. It would be in April or May or August. That's when the tides are most favorable. They absolutely do. There is a case of two Chechens who worked for a utilities company and one guy had like a telephoto lens that was taking pictures of a Green Beret colonel's house and children and stuff like that. And the Green Beret colonel shot him. And the Green Beret colonel was all the charges against him were dropped. So yes, they're definitely. I mean, I don't want to say definitely, but I would be extremely surprised if they did not. I would imagine that they probably have proxies through Venezuelan gangs and stuff like that. But given all the crap that we've been giving them through Ukraine, there's absolutely no reason to think that the Russians would not have some sort of groups in the United States that are ready to cause damage and sabotage. I mean, we've had like 2 or 3 ammunition fires, right? All mysterious over the last several years. So, yeah, I think there's definitely proxies here. I don't know anything about HARP. That's the thing up in Alaska, but yeah, don't know. That's weird. I didn't think Trump drank. I need to bring Reardon on at some point again to see all this stuff that they keep predicting. Some crazy stuff there. I mean, so far 2025 has been an absolute sheer unmitigated disaster. I mean, it's been a mess everywhere. You know, it's been absolutely wild, unfortunately. Oh yeah, President Yoon. Is that guy still doing crazy stuff over there? It's just because it's like silent in the Western media. Maybe it's not in the New York Times. Maybe the New York Times is covering it, but I sure as heck haven't been reading it. I have a friend who is South Korean, and at one point his uncle was the president. And he basically, because he's not a fan of Trump, but he basically said that President Yoon makes Trump look like an angel. Oh man, it hasn't been a month yet, Alpha. Like I I mean I think a lot of these jobs are going to start opening up, especially if Trump puts tariffs on things. Right? They're going to need people. They're going to need workers. And that's another reason why they flooded the country with people. But yeah, my 2021 was a mess like that, and it was so bad. I was kind of impacted by the quote unquote woke mind virus, which I don't talk about it that much, but I was so angry and pissed off about it that I swore I was never going to go back to the workforce. And I started doing my own thing. And over 2 years, kind of build up a business that wasn't quite as lucrative as having a full time job, but it was enough to like reduce the cash burn. And then I was starting to get above, starting to generate positive cash for the family in terms of but I wasn't, I had a lot saved and stuff like that before that happened. So just keep trying, keep pushing. I don't know what you do. It depends on what kind of job you do, but I think hopefully the Trump administration reignites. I mean, you should never rely on a government to do anything other than screw up, but they're moving opposite this kind of highly regulated direction that the Democrats always move in, where you can't get anything done. And everything is too expensive to get done. I think he's going to start slashing regulation. And once that starts happening, things are going to start moving. Oh my God. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, just keep working your network, keep doing everything you possibly can. Sometimes though, like it took me a very long period of time to do this, but sometimes if you let go and let the universe kind of carry you, it will. I can't explain it, but like I just didn't want to go back, and then all of a sudden I would get a call from like one of my former bosses. Hey, this company needs a model built. Are you a financial model built? Are you interested? And then boom, that was like, tens of thousands of dollars would come in. And then another friend would just call me out of the blue. Hey, do you do that? Build models, this and that. Another tens of thousands of dollars would come in. And then I got more classes for a local university that I help out with. Again, tens of thousands of dollars would come in. So the first year was, I burned my cash went way down, or not way down, but I burned a lot of cash. And then the second year I just mitigated that burn. If I continue with it into a third year, who knows? And it wasn't like YouTube was barely, it was like nothing the first year. And it probably won't be enough to quit a day job for another 2, 3, 4 years. But if I get there, I would prefer to kind of do that, write books, and do a lot more creative things. Because I tell you what, the day job is extremely stressful. and not because it's not because of the people, just because of me. I'm weird that way. I'm much more comfortable working for myself, because I can kind of focus on what I want to focus, and I'm not kind of whipsawed into doing something that somebody thinks is more important, right? And look, they're paying me, so that's they get the only vote, so that's what I have to focus on. So just keep doing what you're doing, man. Just keep applying, keep working your networks. Yeah, I don't know if he's never had anything to drink, but he certainly doesn't drink now. And again, that's what he claims. Oh, so you still kind of have a job, it sounds like. Oh man. It's all right. It sounds just be patient. You'll be okay. It sounds like you have something waiting for you. You're just waiting for it to, get started. There's just lots of crazy stuff going on. See, like Sola, you're giving this audience like real-time intelligence about what's actually going on in South Korea. And most people on this podcast are probably completely I was unaware that this crap was still going on. And the other thing too is I haven't talked to my friend in a while. I could call him up and he could probably verify all this. Oh man. Oh wow. Yeah, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay, Alpha. And I think things are swinging back in your way, in your direction, because people don't like that we just flooded 8 million illegal migrants into the country, and those are the people who would be competition for your wages. So, um, Human's going to come in and he's going to just clean house. So there's going to be pressure for them to bring you back. So, from a macroeconomic standpoint, I think you're going to be in the catbird seat in about 6 months. Like you'll get back sooner than you think. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Since you live there, you're around. Yeah, it'd be good to have updates on what's going on in Korea from time to time. I've actually been there only once, but I loved it when I was there. It was not at all what I expected. It's kind of like a mix of it's like a gigantic mix between Los Angeles and San Francisco. That was like Seoul. That's what Seoul reminded me. Only there's a few miles north, there's all these artillery shells that could destroy the city in like one day. All right. All right. With that, I think I'm like 2 minutes over, so I think it's time for me to go. I'm already getting stressed out with work starting tomorrow, but I got a lot done this weekend. I only have I'm now 6 episodes ahead. Thank God, I was worried about that. So 3 weeks of episodes ahead, and I have a 7th episode that I've done editing the audio, which takes the longest. I just have to finish editing the video. So anyway, I'm slowly making good progress. Anyway. All right. Well, good night, everyone. God bless. And I'm going to play some music like I normally do. And yeah, Alpha, yeah, just let me know if you ever need anything. Okay. Like I've been in that situation so many times in my life. Like it's just capitalism can be brutal. So, which is why I've been so paranoid in saving money and things like that to handle like these insane reversals that you have. Yeah. So, I mean, it inspired me to start this channel. Like, you got to have your own brand. You got to do your own thing, even if it's on the side, because it could grow into something. And I hope this grows into something. It sure as heck is taking an immense amount of energy and effort, but hopefully it pays off someday and I can do this full time and start traveling to places and doing there's so many things I could do with this channel. But again, I mean, that won't start until it's like 100,000 plus, and I've done a little bit. I went to the outskirts of Skinwalker once. there would be like more funded trips like that. Anyway, thank you, Miss Tessa Marie. You all have a great and wonderful week, and continue plowing through 2025. Just hoping nothing else bad happens. For those who just joined, I was just telling the audience there was an earthquake today in my town. So it was fine. Nothing, the thing shook a little bit. It was about 3.7 magnitude. Anyway, all right. God bless everyone. Good night, and talk soon.